So now the ducks fly across the screen and we can shoot them down, but we're not getting any points for it, and that's not good enough. And we also want to create a countdown clock to give us a certain amount of time and to show the player useful information. This all means that we need to create a user interface. So here's my user interface. I'm going to select a text box straight away. And I'm going to call this time box. And I think I'll put that in the top left corner. Let's just have a look at our canvas. Here it is. The time box is there, just there. Let's reset it. And I want to put this up in the top left corner. So with Alt and Shift, here's my top left corner, and there it goes up there. I'll just zoom in on that. So yeah, there it is. I think I'll just move it across a bit, just to bring it in from the corner slightly. And this new text is going to be time left, and then I'm going to put the actual time on a new line. That's fine. I think I'll make it a bit bigger than that. I think 20 should be fine. Let's just leave that a bit bigger. Okay, I'm quite happy with that colour on the background. I'm going to put another one on the other side. This is going to be the score box. And this one I'm going to put on the top right. I'm going to do the same sort of thing here, so I'll use 20, and I'm going to put score, then a colon, and then the score on the next line. And then again, I'm going to move that in from the corner a bit, keep it up. Okay, that's not too bad. A game over box. Text field. I'm going to put this slap in the middle. And I'm going to make this super big. So to do that, I don't want it to be constrained inside the box. So I want to overflow, and I want it centered. And I'm going to make this pretty big. That's fine. Right, that's my game over box. So I'll rename that. And finally, I want to have a replay button. On the button, right. I'll place this in the center as well, and down a bit. Move that down and make it considerably bigger. Back in the center. There we are. So I'll keep that white. I could change the color of it. Change the text. 28, just like odd numbers. Right, and this button is going to be called right. So that's our user interface, and of course when we start off we don't want to have these items showing, and we want to be able to address those. Let's turn our attention to the script. Now, to use the interface we need to add another item in the namespace, and that's under Unity Engine and we've got UI here. I'm also going to use this to reload the scene, so we also want the scene management, which is also part of Unity Engine. Scene management. Now we need some references here, so we've got those. It's small game objects. I'll just put, there's the game over box, and there's also the replay button. And I want references to the two text boxes as well. So I'm just going to put those in as text because I don't want to hide them or anything like that. So I'm going to call this time box and score box. Right, I'm going to need a couple of private variables here as well. So we need another public one. Okay, so we'll have the float, I think. So that's how long we want the game to go for. So I'll start at 60 seconds. But this will be in the inspector, so if you wanted to change the time you could. The other one I want is the duck value. Again, I'll make it a float. So this is how many points you get for shooting each duck. So should we give them 10 points by default? That should be fine. Now I need some private variables as well. So I want to know how much time is left. And we also need the score, which is going to be an int. Right, so in the start, I'm going to do this before we start the routine. So we've got the time left equals the game time. And of course the score equals 0. Right, so that initializes the whole thing. The other things we want to do in the start is to disable the game over box and the replay button. So I'm going to change those by choosing set active false, and the same thing with the replays button. I'm also going to put the current time left and the score into the box. Well, the score box automatically has 0 in it, so I'm not going to bother with that. But the game time I will. So where are we? There we go. Now I want this to go on to the next line, and I can do that simply by inserting this new line character, which is backspace and N. So that will force it onto the next line. Okay, that should be okay. And if you want to make absolutely sure, you can add it as toString. Right, we've already got our game over variable, so that's fine. So what we need to do now is to have the countdown timer. So I'm going to put this in the update function, and this is going to happen as long as the game's not over. So remember, not and that's what we're going to do there. So we're going to take down the time left. So we'll take off time delta time. And then we're going to put that into the time left box. So timebox.text, and then again got time, and then we're going to put the line feed in. Now I want to convert this to an integer, so we've got our I'm going to choose floor to int, right, so that should put the new time on the box. Right, and then we can check if it's less than or equal to 0. So if then the game is over. So that should handle the update. Now to actually choose your scores, we'll need another function. I'm going to make this one public, and it's going to return void. So I'm going to call this upscore. And essentially what this does is it's going to add the duck value to the score. So we've got the duck value there. So this should add duck value to the score. And we're going to put that in the score box. So again, I want to feed onto the next line. And I only want this as an integer. put score. And I'm going to change the duck value to an integer. Nobody wants to put 2.5 onto a duck. Right, that'll be fine. And then we're working in integer maths. That's going to be fine. The other thing we want to do is to be able to restart the game. So I'm going to put another function, public again. I'm going to call that replay. And this is just going to tell the scene manager to load the scene which we've saved as main. Right, so that's simple enough. Now the big question is, how are we going to get this public upscore? Right, so what you have to remember is that game control is a component of the game controller object, and we can find that from the duck. So we can't actually put it in directly, but we can get a reference to it. So here in the duck, I've got another private, and this is of a game control type. See, this type is available because we have defined it. I'm going to call it control. But what we have to do is find it. So in the start, I'm going to put it here. So I'm going to put in, we have to find the game object first. I'm going to call this controller. So in the game object class, there is a find function which finds a game object with a particular name, which is called game controller. So you have to put this in exactly as it says. Right, so that finds a game object and assigned it to controller. I haven't put this up at the top because we won't need it anymore. So now we found control, which is the one we did define at the top, so it's a global variable. So we're going to find that from the controller. Get component. And this is of the game control type. And now we have a reference to that particular piece of code. Right, it's a bit complicated, I admit, but those two lines will actually get us a reference to this item of code. So when the mouse is down, we can actually get at that. And I'll put in here. And if we click on that, it will tell us no, it won't, because I haven't saved it yet. Just a minute, I'll just save that. I'll check it as well. Oops. Okay. Getting ahead of myself. So now it should find this for us. There are control dot, and we should have our reference to upscore. So this should hand over control to the game control and increase the score. Let's save that again. Check it. Yeah, so that's all right now. Good. Close that. Everything should be hunky-dory. And last thing we need to do is to assign this play again button. Click back on it. Just importing things. Right, so we need to assign something to this on click, and the object is game controller, but I need to just update that a bit because we need to reference these new variables. So time box is there, score box is there, game over box is there, and the play again button is there. Okay, so that's all been populated. Right, let's go back to that play again button, and then we need to assign an object for runtime, and this is in the game controller object, and we choose the function from game control which says replay. That should be fine. So now we should be able to play the game. I'm just going to change the time just down to 6 seconds so that we can just test all of that. There is something else we need to do. In game control, when we say game over is true, we also want to set the so I'm adding curly brackets out because we need to do 2 more things. So game over box, set active true, and of course the replay button as well. Just check. Fine. Okay, so as I was saying, I will just set it to 6 seconds just to see if it all works. So, shoot a duck. We've got one. Lovely. And oh yes, I need to set this cursor back to normal cursor. Let me just check it. That's fine. Okay. So this is going to be setting the cursor back to normal here. So, oops. Set cursor, and we're going to set it to null. So that sets the pointer back to the top left corner, and then cursor mode auto. Okay, just save that and just try it again. So again, playing for 6 seconds. And there's our cursor back to normal. Good.